Coming up on Arirang News. A fire that broke out this morning at a lithium battery plant in South Korea's Hwaseong, Gangwon-do Province has killed at least 22 people, with one still missing. President Yoon orders full security readiness against the new military agreement signed by North Korea and Russia. With this, senior officials in South Korea, the US, and Japan jointly condemned the pact in the strongest possible terms. The USAC-130J aircraft, a heavily armed gunship also known as the Ghost Rider, is currently in South Korea for joint aerial drills. It has been made public amid deepening North Korea-Russia ties. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. I'm Ji-young. We start our coverage with a massive fire that broke out this morning at a battery factory in Hwaseong, Gangwon-do Province, which has reportedly killed 22 people. We have our Hwaseong on the line. So, Soo-young, what can you tell us?
Yes, Ji-young, the number of casualties has increased, with reports indicating that 22 people have lost their lives, most of them foreign workers. All 21 people who had initially been reported missing have been confirmed dead. However, fire authorities say that search operations are still underway after receiving an additional report of one person still not accounted for. The fatalities include 18 Chinese nationals among the 20 foreigners, one person from Laos, and also 2 Koreans. They announced that 8 people who were seriously injured have been moved to nearby hospitals for treatment. The fire broke out at 10:31 a.m. at the Arirang lithium battery factory in Hwaseong. After the initial fire was extinguished, firefighters said there could be the possibility of further spontaneous combustion of batteries. The initial location where the fire broke out was where approximately 35,000 completed lithium batteries were being stored. In addition, about 100 workers were there at the time. Due to the composition of the batteries, which were difficult to extinguish with water and could continue to ignite spontaneously when exposed to very high temperatures, it was initially challenging for firefighters to get inside the facility. President Yoon visited the site of the fire this afternoon, where he received a report from fire authorities and instructed a thorough investigation into the cause, urging on-site officials to do their utmost. Fire authorities immediately issued a second-stage response system and announced they were able to control the fire at around 3 p.m. The government activated the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters in response. Specific details regarding the missing, the casualties, and the cause of the fire have yet to be confirmed, but operations inside the facility are still ongoing. That's all I have for now. Back to you, Ji-young.
Well, Soo-young, thank you for your report. Now shifting gears, President Yoon called the security situation around the Korean Peninsula, quote, severe, and ordered his top aides to make every effort to ensure a thorough readiness to deal with potential threats. This is according to the president's senior secretary for public relations, Lee Do-eun, on Monday, following Yoon's weekly meeting with his top secretaries. He further explained that the directive emphasizes the need to maintain a firm military readiness posture and economic security following the strategic partnership treaty signed between Russia and North Korea last week and the situation in the Middle East. And against this backdrop, senior officials in South Korea, the US, and Japan released a joint statement today condemning deepening Pyongyang-Moscow military ties in the strongest possible terms. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jung-sil reports.
South Korea, the US, and Japan have released a joint statement following the summit between Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. South Korean Vice Foreign Minister for Strategy and Intelligence Cho Kure and his U.S. and Japanese counterparts Chung Bak and Hiroyuki Namazu said the three countries condemn in the strongest possible terms deepening military cooperation between the DPRK and Russia, including continued arms transfers from the DPRK to Russia that prolong the suffering of the Ukrainian people, violate multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions, and threaten stability in both Northeast Asia and Europe. The Washington Post reported over the weekend that North Korea likely shipped 1.6 million artillery shells of the type Russia uses in its war against Ukraine from August through January. The statement came as the three countries also gear up to hold their first trilateral multi-domain exercise this week. Taking part is the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt that arrived in Busan over the weekend.
Freedom Edge is a significant exercise because it is an opportunity to practice and cooperate between the United States, Korea, and Japan. With the Theodore Roosevelt, which is one of the most advanced versions of a U.S. aircraft carrier, the trilateral nations will be able to exercise all the aspects of multi-domain operations.
North Korea has issued strong protests ahead of the drill, especially following the arrival of the Roosevelt. On Monday, the North Korean Ministry of Defense released a statement saying that Pyongyang was witnessing yet again the reckless choices and actions by the U.S. It added that the U.S. and South Korea are playing a very dangerous game and taking an adventure against the North, stressing that North Korea condemns in the strongest possible terms the provocative actions by the U.S. and South Korea and saying it was open to all possibilities of deterrence demonstrations against Seoul and Washington. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
The US AC-130J aircraft, also known as the Ghost Rider, is currently in the country for joint aerial drills with South Korean forces. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung was at the Osan Air Base to take a closer look at the gunship.
The heavily armed US AC-130J aircraft made a second visit to South Korea earlier this month. For the occasion, U.S. Forces Korea Monday held a special press conference at the Osan Air Base in the city of Pyeongtaek, providing a closer look at the gunship, also known as the Ghost Rider. As you can see behind me, the Ghost Rider is a key U.S. military asset and remains one of the most requested aircraft by ground forces. The AC-130J is a traditional C-130J cargo aircraft modified with an array of sensors and weapons. Its primary missions are close air support, air interdiction, and armed reconnaissance. The Ghost Rider can be armed with 30mm and 105mm cannons and fire precision-guided weapons.
When you pair all of those weapons with the constant left-hand turn that a gunship is known for flying, our weapons are continuously pointed in the direction of any potential targets. Simply put, the speed at which we can engage rounds on target in less than 30 seconds, that is unmatched by any aircraft in the world. That allows us to deliver rapid, persistent, and accurate fire support that is very unique to the gunship.
The Ghost Rider was first and last deployed to South Korea in March last year for live fire exercises. And last week, South Korean and U.S. forces conducted their second joint drills over the Korean Peninsula involving the aircraft.
We've not forgotten our commitment to the Ironclad Alliance to defend our homelands, a commitment born out of the blood and 70 years of working together to ensure a safe and peaceful peninsula. Since then, we've steadfastly maintained a deterrence posture with a credible special operations force to prevent conflict, while also giving senior leaders options and the knowledge that we will prevail if needed.
The U.S. gunship arrived approximately 2 weeks ago and is set to depart later this week after conducting additional training events. The drills involving the Ghost Rider come amid escalating tensions on the Korean Peninsula following deepening military cooperation between North Korea and Russia. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News, Pyeongtaek.
On the international front, Russia blames the U.S. for the recent Ukrainian attack against Crimea, reportedly involving U.S.-supplied missiles, and vows to retaliate. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, on the other hand, has urged Ukraine's partners to bolster its air defense. Cha Yoon-kyung has more.
The Russian Defense Ministry says that 5 U.S.-provided Army Tactical Missile System, or ATACMS, rockets were shot down by Russian air defense systems over the city of Sevastopol on the Korean Peninsula on Sunday. The fragments from the 5th rocket were detonated in midair, causing numerous casualties on the ground. Russian officials said on Sunday that at least 5 civilians were killed and more than 100 people were injured.
It was on a summer holiday, on a nice weather day when people were resting on the beach.
Russia has blamed the United States with its foreign ministry, saying that responsibility lies with Washington for supplying Ukraine with the weapons.
We will seek a response. We will do everything to ensure that the international community is notified of the latest crimes of the Kiev regime.
The U.S. has been supporting Ukraine with military aid to only defend against Russia's invasion and gave Ukraine permission to use American weapons to strike inside Russia. However, the U.S. did not allow the use of ATACMS missiles, which have a range of 300 kilometers. According to the New York Times on Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called on the allies to ease the restrictions on the use of Western weapons against Russian air bases, as bombs had been dropped by Russian warplanes on residential districts in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv on Saturday. President Zelensky reiterated on social media that striking Russian airfields is also entirely justified, and he needs a joint security decision with his partners. On the other hand, U.S. Major General Patrick Ryder recently mentioned that there has been no change in the policy regarding Ukraine's use of ATACMS, and the policy only comes down to counterfire. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
At the National Assembly, the ruling People Power Party on Monday accepted the 7 standing committee chair positions proposed by the opposition Democratic Party of Korea, who holds the majority in the National Assembly. Among them are strategy and finance, foreign affairs and unification, and national defense. This signals an end to the current boycott by the PPP, as they had no say in the negotiation process of who takes the chair of which standing committee. It's customary in the National Assembly to divide the chairs of 18 standing committees in a ratio of the seats that would make it 11 for the DP and 7 for the PPP. The PPP had been calling for negotiations on which party chairs the Legislation and Judiciary Committee as per the tradition, but the DP refused and unilaterally voted to take the position 2 weeks ago. In other news, the city of Incheon is hosting the 2024 UN Public Service Forum, a 3-day platform for information sharing on innovative examples of public service. Taking center stage has been integrating AI and public services to meet people's needs. Our Shin Ah-young reports.
The 2024 United Nations Public Service Forum, co-organized by South Korea's Ministry of the Interior and Safety and the UN, opened on Monday in Songdo, Incheon. Under the theme Fostering Innovation Amid Global Challenges, a public sector perspective, the event brings together 2,000 participants from over 100 countries to discuss key issues in public service.
The forum is the most prestigious international event in the public service sector. It is expected to help promote Korea's outstanding digital companies worldwide and expand their opportunities for going global.
During a keynote speech, former UN Secretary General Bang Ki-moon addressed international solidarity for achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals.
But our world, as well as the technological advancement that power it, is vastly different than it was in 2015 when the UN SDGs were adopted. Thus, public institutions and officials must keep pace with such changes and advance sustainable solutions in a more innovative.
Taking part in this year's plenary session, the Digital Technologies Minister of Uzbekistan, next year's host country, emphasized the importance of governments understanding their mission when integrating AI in public services. He added that Uzbekistan and South Korea have a long-standing cooperation in terms of e-government.
This long-standing cooperation really helped us to improve our views as well as our approaches to e-government implementation in Uzbekistan. We were in constant discussion in terms of reviewing the methodologies, learning from Korean government as well. From the infrastructure point of view, we are already cooperating with South Korea on increasing our data center capabilities.
The event also features an exhibition showcasing innovative public services, and one of them is South Korea's digital platform government, which uses digital technologies like AI to provide services tailored to people's needs.
Korea is considered one of the leading countries in government innovation, including digital governments, and has successfully shared examples of outstanding policies with all UN member states. The main contents of the exhibition include the background and basic principles of the digital platform government, a zero required document system, and national security program, and CCTV traffic volume analysis, you name it.
The three-day event will wrap up on Wednesday with the UN Public Service Awards ceremony, where 15 innovative achievements by public service institutions will be recognized. 신하영, Arirang News.
The second leg of the country's high-speed commuter rail service begins its operation this coming Saturday. The ultimate goal is to bring a number of cities in Gangwon-do Province within commuting range of capital Seoul. Our Lee Soo-jin has more.
The next stop on Seoul's high-speed commuter line is set to open by the end of this month. The Transportation Ministry announced that the GTX-A line will be stopping at Hwaseong Station starting June 29. As the next station to open on the GTX-A line following the opening of Suseol in southern Seoul and Seongnam and Dongtan in the neighboring Gangwon-do Province in March this year. And they're all part of the South Korean government's plan to make it faster for people to commute to their jobs in Seoul. People who get on at Hwaseong Station will now be able to reach the city in around 15 minutes compared to the 36 minutes on the existing Suin-Bundang line. And it'll cost only 3,950 won, or around $3. As for the rest of the line, the northern section is scheduled to open in the second half of the year, followed by the connection between Seoul Station and Suseol in 2026, and finally the stop at Samsung Station, one of the nation's most used subway stations, in 2028. The government is also hoping that the opening of this station will boost the ridership of the GTX-A line, which is currently lower than expected.
Passengers can transfer from the Suin-Bundang line, which is expected to raise ridership, and it's a station that represents Yongin City.
And ahead of the opening of the new stop on the line, the government also carried out radiation inspections in a move to mitigate concerns about extra electrical substations being built to supply electricity for the GTX lines. According to an official, radiation below the World Health Organization's guidance level of 83.3 microtesla doesn't have any health risks.
The level of radiation detected from the substations just 3 meters away was not only under the WHO's guidance level, but also lower than what's emitted from hairdryers and microwaves.
The tests that were carried out in the electrical substation came to around 2.7 microtesla and on ground level around 0.04 microtesla. With the opening of more stations like this on the GTX-A line scheduled in the coming months, more people will be able to enjoy faster and safer accessibility to the city. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
As geopolitics impacts trade across the world, South Korea and Germany can help overcome their trade dependencies by collaborating through innovation. That's the message a Seoul-based German official gave amid a high-level visit from Berlin last week. Our Hwaseong has more.
South Korea and Germany can de-risk from global crises through stronger value-based partnerships and innovation. That's according to Dr. Martin Henkelmann, president of the Korean-German Chamber of Commerce and Industry. At a time when trade protectionism, war and geopolitical conflicts challenge the rules-based global order, he said middle powers like Korea and Germany need to strengthen their solidarity to keep markets free and open. This came as German Vice-Chancellor Robert Habeck visited Seoul last week, before heading to China, where he called out Beijing for its unfair subsidies and support for Russia amid its invasion of Ukraine. Following China, South Korea is Germany's second-largest Asian market, with bilateral trade standing at $33.9 billion last year, according to Korea Customs Service. Henkelmann says de-risking from China presents untapped potential for growth between the two export-dependent economies.
Besides the aspect that both countries are highly industrialized, have a strong GDP that comes from industry, from manufacturing, we are value partners, as we always say. And I think it has been very good sign that Korea has been supporting many of the sanctions in this sanction against Russia. I think de-risking means that we look for opportunities to diversify our sourcing, what we spoke about, that we look on opportunities to have different options for the production.
With overlapping interests in fields like supply chain security, semiconductors, automobiles and renewable energy, the two energy-intensive economies can collaborate on decarbonisation and innovation across all sectors.
I think offshore wind would be a good possibility here. German turbines and German knowledge, how we could establish wind parks, combining this with the skills and the knowledge here in the country when it comes to the steelwork, etc., could be a good fit then to go forward for renewable energy. And in other fields, we see that when it comes to quantum physics and when we look on AI, these are all challenges we have together. Our industry has to see how they integrate AI into modern processes of manufacturing and what are the next steps here.
To spur cooperation, Henkelmann says German firms in Korea hope to see more clarity and stability in defining legal terms, especially labour laws, as well as better access to public procurement and certifications for green businesses. He further called for an update to the South Korea-European Union FTA, as Korea and Germany compete and collaborate towards a complementary partnership that reinforces global value chains. Hwaseong, Arirang News.
Rain over the weekend dropped the temperatures to below 30 degrees Celsius in most parts of the country today. Seoul and Gwangju saw 28 degrees during the daytime. However, with humid conditions, the feels-like temperatures were higher. After the rain stops today, the cold air will move south and tomorrow's temperatures will be lower than today. There will be no rain over the country tomorrow. Until tomorrow, strong winds will continue in the eastern parts of Gangwon-do Province. In addition, high waves will be seen on the east coast for the time being. Please refrain from going near coastlines. Tomorrow morning, Seoul, Gwangju, and Daegu will start off at 19 degrees. It will move up to 28 in Chuncheon, Daejeon, and Gwangju, Gyeongju, 30 degrees. There's more rain forecast on the southern coast and Jeju Island from Wednesday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that is all for this newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back shortly at 10 p.m. with the AI headline news. Good night.